Hello and welcome back to another episode of Diablo to D&D. My name is David, and today we're going to be going over the changelog for March 17th. Before I get into that, though, I do have an announcement. I have moved the files from OneDrive over onto Google Drive. Now, you can find them both in both places. I will only be editing the OneDrive ones and then moving them over onto Google Drive on Monday. This is good because I found a way to get it to OneDrive or to Google Drive. So, yay! That should help more people be able to access the files without having to log into a Microsoft account, in case you don't have one. So, firstly, the Druid had a couple of changes that were in line with my last video about the Summoner Druid's changes. The Summoner Druid no longer learns or uses Find Familiar, instead using the new ability Beast Companion. Ravens no longer allows you to replace your attack with an attack from your familiar, just getting rid of that one because of the change. Horde Master is now an action instead of a bonus action, see my reasoning in previous video. The Spirit Wolf and Dire Wolf stat blocks no longer have multi-attack. The Raven Flock, Spirit Wolf, and Dire Wolf stat blocks perception proficiencies and passive perception now scale with proficiency bonus instead of being a static number. Just something I had forgotten to change. The Spirit Wolf's bite damage die is now 1d8 instead of 1d6. This is kind of a way to offset the loss of multi-attack. The Dire Wolf's Usher to Death now refreshes when an additional creature dies during its duration. This was, I had realized, might have caused some confusion. If the person dies, does the Usher to Death stack? Do you constantly get a ton more, 2d6 on every attack? No, it just specifically says the duration refreshes rather than getting a new one. The Spirit Wolf's scaling hit points are now 4 times your Druid level instead of 5. Right in the middle of the Druid changes for the Amazon, the Valkyrie now has improved critical strike. I removed, I think it's Pierce. Yeah, I removed Pierce at level 15 and bumped critical strike up to an improved critical strike. So now the Valkyrie, which gains the same synergies that the Amazon does, now has improved critical strike as well. So they critical on an 18, 19, or 20. And lastly for the Druid, the Vine Poison now deals 1d4 instead of 2d4. I am playing around with just nerfing the Vine into the ground, and this way I think the only way to nerf it is removing the ability Slip Away, which removes opportunity attacks. But, we'll see how all of this plays out. Now, a bunch of changes for the Necromancer. So on YouTube, I had somebody comment. It was Flesh Anthos. I think I'm pronouncing that name correctly. But they pointed out that the Necromancer got the Golem before they got Bone Armor or Summon Skeletons, I think. And I realized what I had done is early on in the Necromancer's development, there was no spellcasting. So the Necromancer, being squishy, needed something to be the front line for it. So I gave it the Golem at level 1. And then level 2, I gave it Curses. And then level 3, I gave it Bone Armor. Now that the Necromancer has spellcasting and can be more like the wizard it's designed from, the Golem can go back to its proper place as a higher level, higher quote-unquote level, at a level that is higher than level 1 ability. So, for the Necromancer forward, Golem Clay has been moved from 1st level to 3rd. Curses have been moved from 2nd level to 1st, kind of mimicking that spellcasting ability. And then Bone Armor has been moved from 3rd level to 2nd. This way, you get your subclass with your Golem. So that way, the Summoner Necromancer gets an additional summon that they can use, and the Golemancer, which is not currently official playtest content, but, I'd like some feedback in case, this could become something, can actually move forward and be, useful. On the topic of golems, a bunch of changes for Iron, Blood, and Fire Golem, so most of them. The summoned iron golem can no longer be formed around sentient items or artifacts, as much as it would be amazing to turn the... Oh, wait, no, that's flesh. I was going to say the hand of Vecna. Turning some sentient artifact and giving it a body and helping it move around. Talk to your DM if they're okay with that. Instead, you can't. Artifacts, same reasoning. The summoned blood golem regains hit points equal to half the damage it deals rather than the full amount, just bringing down some of that healing to make it risky. If the summoned iron golem is formed around an item requiring attunement, it must attune to that item before it gains the properties. I should probably put in magical properties. The reason being is that, I could be convinced to change that, but the idea is that the golem has to acclimatize to having this attunement item in it. Now, the argument is that you're creating the golem around the artifact, and that the artifact itself, like the attunement process, could be over the short rest that you create the golem. So I'm kind of half and half on whether or not it should require an additional hour, but right now that's what it has. The summoned fire golem's slam now deals 3d6 fire damage instead of 1d6 plus 5 bludgeoning and 2d6 fire damage. This is a nerf to the damage. This is on top of, keep in mind, this is on top of its fiery presence, which deals 2d4 in an area. So it does a little bit less damage. You don't have to worry about bludgeoning damage and fire damage. It is all straightly just fire damage. 3d6, no modifiers. And, the summoned fire golem's fiery presence now deals 1d6 instead of 2d4, like I just said in the previous change. This is yet another nerf. I realized that the fire golem is probably doing a little bit too much damage, so I just cut it back a little bit. I had considered 4d6 fire damage rather than 3d6. It dealt just a little bit less average damage, but I think just that 3d6 should be fine. After all, the previous golem was dealing 1d6 plus 4 damage, so 3d6 is actually pretty good. Anyway, I think that is it for the changelog. Oh, actually, last thing on the Golemancer. So that 14th level ability, like I said, none of this is official playtest content, but I was considering, kind of what would I do if I was creating a golem. The Necromancer in Diablo has no abilities that actually could be considered like properly Golemancer. It is the worst build in the game. But I was trying to think of things that the Golemancer could have. One of them, as you can see at 14th level, is that you gain benefits from the golem that you have summoned. And this is, by the way, the synergies that the golem gives to the other golems. The clay golem gives attack rating, the blood golem gives hit points, the iron golem gives defense, and the fire golem deals damage. What I was thinking is moving it from 14th level down to either 3rd or 6th, and then making it so that you gain all of the abilities while you have a golem summoned, as long as you're able to, create the golem. This way, getting advantage on weapon attacks and increasing your hit points and increasing your armor class and dealing a little bit more damage. That way you're actually able to be on the front line if you need to with your golem. You could stand back and go plink, plink, plink with your light crossbow, or you could, pick up a level in fighter and, go in with it. Now, I really, really don't want people to go, fighter and then 3 levels of necromancer to pick up Golemancer and then the rest fighters so that they get, advantage on all weapon attacks. So I don't know how to balance that out. Maybe keep it at 14th level or push it down to 10th or 6th so that you actually have an investment. So that you can't just dip into Necromancer and suddenly get the best ability in the game. Also consider the idea of giving these abilities to your golem as well, kind of mimicking that synergy. Anyway, this is a changelog video, not a Golemancer video. Anyway, You can find me at XenosFan2, that is XENOZFAN2, on Blue Sky and Reddit. And you can contact the channel directly at Diablo, TODND, on Blue Sky and YouTube. Thank you much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a good whatever.